everybody, and welcome to Unit 2. This is the beginning of Module 6. This is Part 1. We're going to discuss comorbidities, and I will reveal all kinds of secrets that I have kept thus far. So, the first thing to discuss here is comorbidity, and it might surprise you to learn that there's not really a set definition for what a comorbidity is. Not like in the textbook dictionary sense of it. So for this class, we're going to refer to a comorbidity as any condition or system that increases risk of poor health outcomes. So we're talking anything from like chronic kidney disease to asthma, to substance abuse, to depression. All of those can count. And given its flexibility, the definitions and the percentages of what we're looking at vary a bit. Approximately 45% of U.S. citizens have one comorbidity of some sort. Now, I feel this is they were a little loosey-goosey on that, because the number one comorbidity, aside from obesity, was arthritis. And I thought, arthritis doesn't seem like it's really a comorbidity to me, but maybe I'm wrong. But then, like I said, there's obesity, there's hypertension. Yeah, those count. Now, compare that to the geriatric population, though. And whereas we have 45%-ish of U.S. citizens that have one, we have 92% of geriatric patients that have at least one. Well over 50% have two or more. And usually when you're talking about a geriatric patient, you're looking at in a facility, in the hospital, you're talking about or more. Very rarely do they come to you with just one or two issues. So why, right? To a large degree, it's a numbers game. The longer that you're hanging on to this mortal veil o' tears, the more times you have to develop disorders. The more days you're here on Earth, the more chances you have to develop cancer, to get hit by a bus, to get struck by a meteor. That's it's just really a numbers game. Now, the upside of that is that there are better therapeutic interventions, and we have much higher survival rates for most things than we used to have. So you can keep playing the game some more. I guess that's a good or bad thing, depending on how you look at it. Now, remember also that just age in and of itself is a risk factor for malnutrition. And malnutrition increases the risk of everything. Wounds of all types, fractures, bed sores, anything like that. It increases the risk of infection, increases the risk of dementia, of frailty syndrome, which I will get to. We're going to do it today. We're going to do it today. Here, before we leave today, we'll talk about it. I promise this time. I know I've said that almost every lecture. Increases the risk of depression. It decreases activities of daily living, and it increases the risk for death, which I felt was a bit odd, but they include it in things at times, so we're going to include it here. Here's some extra reading for you. We'll have several of these. There's a lot of references in this lecture, and I don't have a lot of real estate on these slides, so we'll have a few of these. So, what else is going on? Remember, there are morphological, physiological changes that happen in geriatric patients. 40.5% present with gastric atrophy of some point, or some part, some degree. And 12.5% present with intestinal metaplasia, which is when the epithelial cells of the stomach or the esophagus start taking on characteristics of the intestine, which is odd, but also makes things less, it makes your stomach less able to function. About 11% of geriatric patients present with xerostomia, which is the inability to produce saliva, which I seem to be struggling with right now. And that obviously makes it difficult to swallow, it makes it difficult to chew, and it decreases your sensation of taste, which makes you less inclined to want to eat. 10.5% present with decreased sensations of hunger and thirst, and 55% present with decreased lean body mass. Here's some more reading for you, if you'd like. So, we're finally here. I'm finally ready to start talking about some of these things I've been promising you for a while. So we're going to discuss inflammaging. I suppose halfway through the course is maybe a little bit of an awkward time to tell you that we don't completely know why we age. This is the current hypothesis. It was proposed by Francesi et al. About 20 years ago as a network theory of aging. The inflammaging in a nutshell is chronic low-grade inflammation that develops due to extended oxidative stress as the body ages. And don't worry, we're not just going to leave it in a nutshell. We're going to go in depth. So, as the hypothesis goes now, aging appears to be related to a combination of metabolic changes and oxidative stress. The increased oxidative stress leads to chronic inflammation. That chronic inflammation makes a body more susceptible to chronic disease. And inflammaging is called a 1-2 punch hypothesis. The first punch is a chronic low-grade inflammation. This strains resources in the body and it increases susceptibility to disease. The second punch is an acute stressor of some sort, an injury, an illness, something like that. And this just tips the balance. It overloads the body's ability to respond, and it creates a pro-inflammatory catabolic environment that the body is not able to recover from and achieve homeostasis again, and then damage begins to occur. Here's more reading. The other factor of this is immunosenescence. Now, immunosenescence is the acknowledged deterioration of an individual's immune system as they age. And this isn't really in debate. This does happen. The reasons behind it, again, I hate to say this, I feel like a broken record. The mechanisms, not well understood at this point. And there is debate as to whether immunosenescence and inflammation are parts of the same process, if they're linked and synergistic in some way, or if they actually function at cross purposes to each other. But I should stress that inflammaging, the hypothesis of it is kind of the same thing as the theory of evolution. Not as strong, but it's the one we're going with, and we have the most data to back up, but it has evolved over time. Let's talk about some of the comorbidities here that can come with aging. Cachexia is the first one. Cachexia is excessive weight loss in the presence of ongoing disease. And it's important to remember that. I'm going to press that point. It's not that they're not eating. It's that something else is going on that's causing stress in the body. Cachexia is associated with a large elevation in the cytokines. It presents with significant loss of lean body mass. It seems to strike lean body mass first and then move on to adipocytes later. We're not sure why that's the case. Again, he said. So the diagnostic criteria for cachexia is an underlying disease or condition, greater than 10% weight loss in 6 months or less, anorexia, and remember in this case, anorexia is a lack of desire to eat, and an estimated intake of less than 20 calories per kilogram. Now, that does preclude permissive hypocaloric feeding. You know, if we're intentionally doing a underfeeding for weight loss or inflammation management, that's different. This is voluntary intake of less than 20 calories. And this is getting very heavy, so enjoy the Jedi kittens while I talk about this. So, noted cachectic-inducing conditions are cancer, COPD, and pneumonia, especially pneumonia. Pneumonia, if you've ever seen an older person with pneumonia just lays them low. It causes massive inflammation, tremendous weight loss. It is a bad time for an older person. Having had pneumonia in the past myself, it's not a great time for a younger person either, but it's very bad for a geriatric patient. Chronic kidney disease, advanced stages of chronic kidney disease, and age. And we'll remember that's asterisked because remember what we said earlier where we had the cachexia anorexia spiral, that terrible pattern of you're losing lean body mass, so your needs are not as high, so you're not as hungry, so you don't take as much in, so you don't have enough to support resources, etc., and round we go. Now, okay, sarcopenia. Sarcopenia, man, oh man, this probably keeps people that work in the geriatric field awake more than anything else at night. It's just the idea of sarcopenia. It has two forms, I guess you would say, and then kind of an offshoot. But sarcopenia is the loss of lean body mass associated with disuse. I'm sure you've heard it before. If you don't use it, you lose it. That is absolutely true, completely. The classic form of sarcopenia is from disuse or immobilization. This happens when somebody breaks a leg and they have to be in a cast and they are bedfast because they can't move around, and that muscle just deteriorates so quickly. I don't know if any of you have ever broken a bone. I will just testify to this myself. I broke my hand and I had to have it. I didn't have it in the cast. I had it in a splint for 6 weeks, and I didn't even have to have it in the cast all the time, or splint. I'm sorry, all the time. I just had to keep when I was sleeping, and I had to use it at work. But like if I was doing something at home, I could take it off and kind of just drape it off camera there. Sorry, kind of drape it over the edge of the arm of the sofa or something. And when I finally got to the point where I could take it off and I went to do therapy, just opening my hand was agony. It was so hard. Few things in my life have felt that difficult. It is that quick. It is that fast for lean body mass to dissipate. Benign is from decreased use, and this is probably the bigger threat in geriatrics, simply because we have that situation of them tending to be tired and not being as energetic as they were in the past, and so they just slowly depletes. And again, this is a self-feeding cycle that you lose lean body mass, so you feel more fatigued, you tire more easily, which makes you less inclined to do things, which makes you lose body. It just keeps going and going and going. That's why these things are scary to us in geriatrics. And an offshoot of that, I would call benign. I would call sarcopenic obesity an offshoot of benign, because this is a situation in which lean body mass is lost while adipose tissue is maintained. Because, adipose tissue doesn't care if you're getting up and moving or not. Actually, from a survival standpoint, adipose tissue is probably perfectly happy for you to just not be doing a lot. The issue there is that if somebody is very obese, it's very hard to tell when they're losing lean body mass. And it can sneak up on you very, very quickly, and suddenly they're unaware of the fact, or you are suddenly aware, I should say, of the fact that they're very weak. This is why in a lot of long-term care facilities, you have there's voluntary exercise programs. There's programs, they're called restorative, which is an odd name. It should be called something more like maintenance. Restorative programs are there to make sure you don't lose what you have. So if you can walk, they're the people that come in and like, come on, let's walk down the hall, let's walk back, and let's walk you to the dining room, things like that. And then, of course, we have therapy if things go horribly off the rails and we need to build you back up. Sarcopenia has secondary risks too. Sarcopenia increases the risk of mortality, hypoglycemia, bone fractures, dehydration, and infection. Why is all that? It's the lean body mass. Now, I've said it before multiple times. Lean body mass is a sponge. Yes, it's handy that it helps you move too, but from a nutritional standpoint, it's a sponge. It stores water and glycogen, and it insulates bones from impact. If any of you have ever done any kind of sports, you know full well that it hurts a lot more to land on a bone or on, like, in a fatty area, like if you fall back and land on your behind, than it does to take a hit, like, to the, I don't want to thump with the microphone there, than it does to take a hit to the chest or the shoulder, where there's a good amount of muscle there to block it. There are some mixed results on the impact of immune function and lean body mass. It seems to be that the loss of lean body mass does impact immune function, but it could also be that they are just fatigued and tired and not, they may not be in the best of health at that point. Okay, here it is. I promised we were going to do it. We're doing it. Frailty syndrome. Frailty, it's not nearly as exciting as I'm making it sound. It's definitely not as chipper as I'm making it sound. Frailty syndrome is a cluster of symptoms that present in the elderly. They present as chronic disease, physiological impairment, and abnormal hormonal function. And that's hard to say. So there are two diagnostic matrices for this. There's the Linda Fried John Hopkins Frailty Index, and there's the CGA Edmonton Frail Scale. I truly don't know if that rhyme was intentional or not, and if it was horrible. All two of them monitor the same things. They look for unintentional weight loss, exhaustion, weakness and fatigue, nutritional adequacy, and slowness. If you've ever seen somebody do the get up and go test, that's where they are sitting down and somebody times how long it takes them to stand up, walk, usually about 10 meters, turn around and come back. And you should be able to do that in 60 seconds or less. And anything less than that is a diagnostic marker for frailty. Here is yet more reading for you, if you want. You don't have to read all that. What can be done about it? Here is the awesome news for you guys. RDNs can absolutely help with this. I know sometimes we're in a situation where we're like, someone's sick and there's not much we can do about it except feed them. But absolutely, RDNs can help with cachexia and sarcopenia. Because remember that adequate nutrition will prevent them from losing, at least as quickly. We can't completely stop it, especially sarcopenia. That does take more effort, but we can slow it down. And I'm sure you all know, dietitians are kind of lifestyle coaches. We're not just here to help balance electrolytes. We're also here to help people learn how to lose weight. We're here to help people get more physical activity in their day and how to learn how to do that and make that fit into their schedule. And that combination of nutrition and physical activity that's the gold standard for sarcopenia. Just getting people up and moving is the key. And especially in the elderly. It's the key for everybody everywhere. But physical therapy and or exercise has been proven to be exceptionally beneficial in the elderly. There really is never a time when you can't start exercising. So, if you know a 90-year-old couch potato, it's not too late for them to start. Tell them to get up and start walking after they talk to their doctor. But yeah, there really is no point at which people are like, maybe you should and not, maybe you should just start taking it easy and watching the soaps all day. There isn't a time when that's the best option. So I'm going to leave you with this interesting tidbit, which is just recently come out, which is the active grandparent hypothesis. The active grandparent hypothesis states that, I hate this terminology, but I can't think of it, that people are designed to become more active as they age. What it proposes is that inactivity opens the door to chronic disease development and frailty. It actually says that as their proposal is that the hunting and gathering and child rearing was for the younger people at the time. Older adults were supposed to take care of most of the physical activity, and that our bodies are not designed to ever stop. We're always supposed to be moving and active. And their proposal is that slowing, growing more frail and sick. There we go. Slowing, I missed a comma. That's what happened. Slowing, comma, growing more frail, comma, and sick is not how aging is supposed to work. We're not supposed to, we can't stop aging, but the frailty and illness that comes with aging a lot of times is not the actual way that's supposed to work. And guys, that is Comorbidities 1. Sorry, this is a bit of a heavy topic, but it has to be done. I'll see you for part 2. You guys have a good night, or day, or whenever you're watching this. Bye.